Hello and welcome. My name is Danielle, and I am with Michelle Noble today. She is a contributing writer in the upcoming book, Stories of the Goddesses, Divine Frequency Keepers. And today we're here to discuss the upcoming book and her chapter and just the special occasion that we're all experiencing through this great awakening. And women around the world are on the quest to rediscover their inner magic after years of many suppression and subjugation. So, our mothers and our grandmothers were forced to hide their gifts. And now we are here to break free and claim our rightful place. And at this point in time, we have our divine frequency keepers. And this is what this book is about. It's about opening and birthing and sharing our ancestral heritage. And we're going to uphold this honor by proclaiming and basically sharing all these beautiful leaders and visionaries in this book and the codes that they are bringing forth for the divine feminine. So we are here to serve as her champions, using our hearts and our wombs to create a better world with love and integrity. So each one of us has the power of the goddesses waiting to be awakened, and by the unique frequencies that we each emit. And in this book, you may be activated, and we are here to blossom within our magic and our connect with our sisters. So it's time to rise, and I want to welcome you, Michelle. Thank you for being a part of this amazing book. And
thank you, Danielle.
Service. Yeah, such an honor to be here with you. I love the energy that you're bringing forth in this world. And so if you can share with us a little bit about what it is you're currently doing, and what brought you on this journey to connecting with the goddesses?
Well, let's see where to begin. It's kind of funny because I grew up mostly exposed to Lutheran and Methodist traditions, Christian traditions that didn't do, I know it's different in different denominations of Christianity, but the ones that I was exposed to don't pay a lot of attention actually to the divine feminine, to feminine power. And it really, to think of things in terms of the divine feminine never really entered my world as I was growing up, but I was always very drawn to the magical, the mysterious. When I would come across stories about goddesses or witches, fairies and magicians, those kinds of things, really, I was really drawn to that. And I remember I grew up out on the coast of Washington State, and I remember going out on the cliffs overlooking the ocean, probably when I was, middle school to young teenage age, and just like looking at the water and just having such a profound sense of the power of the ocean, the power of nature, and how peaceful it was, but not in a peaceful way that was like just a peaceful, but with a lot of energy and potency.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it was kind of funny because even though in my work with clients, I put a lot of attention on to connecting with our true being and our true selves and being in communion with earth and communion with our bodies. I work with clients around entities and ancestors and angels and really connecting with their team and allowing their team to contribute to them. I hadn't really framed it in terms of the goddess. And then when it came into my world, this book was being written and the invitation to be part of the book. And I saw the beautiful cover art and the title, Stories of the Goddess, and that I could be part of this. I immediately knew that was for me. Like I wanted to be part of the book. But I thought, well, I don't know that I'm really, that I'm really a good match for this because it's not like I think of myself as doing goddess work.
Mm.
So I started talking with Radhaa about the project and telling her about the work that I did. And it immediately it was obvious that there was this energy around the earth and how the earth does motherhood and the way that nature is with its children, with with like the way that the nurturing that nature does has a really different energy than how we're told motherhood is supposed to look, or a good mom, how would a good mom be? And so that was where I thought I was going to go with the chapter, is all about this. And it actually does end up being a big part of the chapter, but it ended up being, I was in one of our first writing get-togethers, writing groups, I was talking about this, and we were having some time to write and start to connect with the energies of what our chapters would be. And I was very aware that there was another goddess there, or there was another goddess presence. And so I started to ask questions like, okay, who are you? Who is this? What is this? What would you like to contribute to me? And it popped that it was Freya. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. I have my primary genetic background is Norwegian and Scots. Of course, Freya is a goddess that was a Norse goddess, a goddess that was worshipped by Celtic people all over that region. So I was like, well, that's kind of cool. You can imagine like a great grandmother wearing a pendant or something that honors Freya. And this is also funny. We're big cat people. My family, my family and my daughters and I, we're big cat people. And so the fact that Freya's Freya's chariot is drawn by cats is like spot on. So anyway, and I looked up what started looking at a little bit about what Freya represented, and these energies of Freya, of yes, love, but also gold and wealth, fierceness. She half of the warriors, the Viking warriors, go to her fields after they die. Love, sex, fertility, war. She's so fierce, and yet also represents. She has this voluptuous. Her daughters, their names mean treasures. So there's this potency in her as a powerful representation of motherhood, and but of feminine strength and fierceness. And when I read this little brief description of what she represented, I just started to laugh, because the work that I do, my business is called the Calmer Mom Project, and I work with women and in pregnancy and new moms. And the thing that comes up over and over again is women have this point of view that it's been impelled at them that a good mom is always this sort of tranquility, this gentleness, the mom who never yells, the mom who is somehow always just calm and above the fray. Somehow this is the ideal that we're supposed to aspire to. And yet, one of the women that I most hold in highest regard as a mom tells a story about how her two boys were so intense with the way they were with each other, not like fighting, but just the intensity of their energy. If she'd come into the room and just been like, okay, it's time to get ready for bed now, like they wouldn't have even known she was there. The only way she could show up for them was with intensity, not anger, but intensity. And so there's this whole side of being a mom that gets kind of a bad rap. And yet if we're not able to or willing to bring that intensity with our kids, we're actually robbing them of a whole level of energies and possibilities and choices about how they could show up as required. So anyway, I just loved it. When I read that description of Freya, I was like, okay, how cool is this? And that's ended up being, as my chapter unfolds, I played a lot with those energies of both the earth, the way that nature does motherhood, that includes fierceness, and this Freya, the energy of Freya. So now I've got Freya on my team. So how does it get even better than that?
I love it. That's so beautiful. And I like how you brought up, nature and our mother Gaia, because this is so intertwined, the cycles of life. And so if you were to share with the women that are listening, and men, because this is a book that is for humanity, could you offer them any advice as to, if they're starting out on their journey, and kind of like you were picking up on the signs, that's such an important message. And it's sometimes simplicity is the best way. And so for people who are just starting out on their journey with the goddesses, what advice would you offer them who are just starting out?
Well, it's interesting. There's a concept and I spoke to this a little bit already, but there's a concept in psychology, they call it confirmation bias.
Okay.
And it's a tendency to seek out evidence of what we've already decided is true.
Yeah.
And so I would invite anyone who's beginning their goddess journey or has been journeying with goddesses for a long time to be willing to be very curious
Mm.
and be willing to see and receive the unexpected, which was what happened. I had this whole set of ideas. What my mind had come up with would be the best way to tell the stories that I wanted to share and talk about the things that I wanted to have included in my chapter. And something entirely unexpected showed up with Freya's presence in that chapter. So I would say that would be, curiosity is a superpower. And so as you go forward in your exploration, don't just look at the things that don't just don't just look for the things you are looking to see. Be willing to get curious and see what lies beneath that and what gifts those things could be. Even the things, even in, some goddess stories have a lot of may even have like violence or anger or, sort of things like one of the stories about Freya, and if someone's like a total like Freya fan, like knows all this stuff, like I might like totally like not get the story quite right. But the gist of the story, as I understand it, is she's famous for this beautiful necklace, golden necklace that she wears. And information I found about that was that the way she got the necklace was that there were some dwarves who are amazing craftsmen. And the dwarf was like, well, if you're willing to lay with me, I will give you this necklace. And so Freya's like, I can do that, and so that sexualness, that energy, and in our current culture, we have such points of view about the idea, what, you'd have sex with a guy for a gold necklace? But what if sexualness was not this, was not the energy that we've decided it is? What if it's this creative, generative energy? And what if her willingness to gift that aspect of something she could give, something she is rich in, and his willingness to gift to her what he was rich in, his capacities with gold, was just a beautiful exchange of energies if there was no judgment placed on that. So that's an example. If you come across these stories, the goddesses that you're drawn to, the places that you go, the things that show up unexpectedly, be willing to play with a different point of view and see what you can learn, see what you might be able to receive.
Wow, that's so interesting. I never knew that about Freya. That's the thing too, when you're like, wow, it could be shocking. But it's not bad. It's also being curious to like, oh, curious to know like what perspective can you gain from this that's going to give you wisdom and just also liberate you too, because I feel like the goddess they're so complex, but the essence of a goddess is very sensual and a lot of times sexual too. It's that creative force energy. So there's no right or wrong, I think, in terms of learning from a goddess, because there's so many elements. It's beautiful. How do you see that the goddesses are awakening and rising in the world today?
I think that, so what I see, so my daughters are 9 and 13, and particularly with the 13-year-old, where she's becoming more, she and her friends are becoming more and more independent and expressing themselves in more and more ways as they become really move from being children to becoming young people, young adults.
Right.
And what I see with them is the definitions of feminine or masculine or identity where we have to where there's an expectation that we align with and show up in a certain way. Those things are melting, and there's a lot of resistance to that melting. It's very common when you talk to, I'm 50, people of my generation, when I was growing up, gosh, kids who didn't fit the mold were just treated abominably in terms of how they presented in terms of their gender. You might be able to get away with being a tomboy, but you still were sort of expected to fit into a certain level, want certain things that were actually, that were sort of sanctioned. And, if you were a boy who showed up in a feminine way, at least where I grew up in a really small town out on the coast, that was kind of suicidal. Like the amount of courage a kid would have to have totally shown all those aspects of themselves if they didn't fit into these boxes was incredible. And like I said, possibly even dangerous. um, that and then I get that there are still places in the world where that still is true, but at least where I am located in Western Washington in the United States, what I see is those definitions are melting. The the permission and the willingness to claim showing up as whoever you choose to be in that 10 seconds, knowing that that may not be the thing that you choose to be your entire life and that that can be fluid. To me, that represents much more of an embracing of all the divine energies, including that of the goddess. And like we've just been talking about with Freya, this is not a woman who walks and who stays in her feminine lane, whatever that means, right? The
Yeah.
energies that she's willing to be in some places and spaces would not be considered feminine energies. And
Mhm.
yet, you know, and
Right.
yet she embodies that. So I think that the what I see is much more of a willingness, and the young people are teaching those of us who are from older generations is to not go to definitions, not going to limiting to what is sanctioned or allowed, and instead a willingness to embrace even the complex, even the ill-defined, even the unexpected. And
Beautiful.
I that and what a gift, right? Like, so what can show up when someone's willing to do that is that's what's going to me. I mean, this is kind of a leap. I'm not sure I'm drawing the lines very well, but that to me is what's going to create a new reality, a new world.
Mhm.
There, if we're asking something new and greater to show up, that is only possible if we're willing to push those boundaries of what has always been. And so anywhere someone is willing to be, that's why I said earlier, curiosity is a superpower. Anywhere you're willing to ask a question, something new can show up. And that's what will save us, save the planet, change the planet, create new possibilities beyond what we've even imagined.
That's
That's
so
the magic.
cool. It's interesting as you're talking, and even before we connected, like I've always thought of Freya as a goddess, like a leadership goddess, like a goddess that leads. And so that's a very powerful element that some people might say is masculine. But the truth is, the divine feminine is the leader in her own right. She's very strong and fierce. So kudos to you to connecting with Freya along this journey. And I'm so excited to read your chapter. And at this point in time, it's been really great to see humanity grow together. So, could you speak on the importance of why sisterhood is so important right now in community and the journey of the goddess?
Well, one of the experiences that I had, and I talk about this more in my chapter, I was in my late 30s by the time I became a mom for the first time, and my older daughter, who I've already spoken about, how she's not a fit in the mold kind of gal. She's really intense, and she was a very intense baby right off the bat, and so we really, my husband and I really struggled when she was a newborn. I had postpartum depression. He had postpartum depression. It was just hard all the way around, and we didn't know how to be present with her in a way that would create something else. But to your question, one of the things we did is we joined a parent group, who all had babies. It's called PEPS. It's here in the Seattle area. I don't think it's national, but all had babies about that same age, and we would meet once a week. One of the great gifts of that group is we got to see that there were people that we held in high regard that were clearly, amazing people, and yet they were struggling with some of the same things we were. And so there could be this gifting and receiving. And what it really showed me, and I bring this out when I work with my clients all the time, is that we're so mean to ourselves compared to how we would treat someone else.
Mhm.
When you if you so I'll ask my clients, I'll invite them. So expand out and turn around and look at yourself as if you were looking at a friend. Imagine you're like sitting down with yourself as a friend for coffee, and this
Mhm.
friend that is you is telling you about something that they're struggling with. Would you ever, ever, ever be as mean to her as you are to yourself about your judgments that you should be able to get this right, or you're not doing well enough, or you should do more, or you should be this, or you should be that? So I think when we're looking at the community of sisterhood, it is an opportunity to be present with each other and to also see how other people, see that everyone struggles, and that doesn't make them wrong and bad, and invites us to extend the same grace to ourselves that we would extend to a friend.
Mm-hmm.
I also, there has been a lot of competition sewn into, like, women have been pitted against each other as a way to basically dissipate our power and potency.
Right.
As you said, you're spot on, Danielle. The divine feminine is a energy of leadership, and in some cultures, the women were the primary leaders, at least in some arenas. But in the rise of the patriarchal society, we've been pitted against each other with this competition and this comparing, where we're always going to this place of, am I doing well enough? That person seems to be doing better than me. I should be able to do that measuring. And that just creates separation. It creates separation from ourselves, and it creates separation from our sisters who would really love to contribute and support us if we were willing to receive from them, and if they were willing to receive from us.
Wow.
And yeah, right. And the if we are willing to learn to receive from each other, what gift can we be to our children and to downstream generations? It's like, what if we actually were willing to have the primary thing we taught one another was receiving, versus competition and comparison, getting it right, judging whether we did well enough.
Yeah, that is so important. And I love how you touched on that. And that speaks to my heart, because I truly desire that for everyone. That's a beautiful energy to be connected to, like have even ease and grace for yourself and for others. And we're all just doing our best, in my opinion. I feel like we're bombarded from so many directions that this particular, I guess you would say, timeline is very patriarchal, and it's a masculine, it's taken away from the feminine. So that's really interesting to see, the growth and the evolution, and the sisterhood does create that sacred space, that container. So thank you for being one of those sisters, and I do appreciate you so much. So with that being said, in the book, what do you hope that the readers gain from and take away from your chapter on the stories of the goddess?
Well, in the chapter, I talk a lot about things that I've struggled with. Okay. And my intention with that is what I just spoke to. If someone can read about my struggles, perhaps they will know that they're not alone in their struggles. Right. And maybe they can see that they don't need to make themselves so wrong for it.
Yeah.
And then the other piece of that is the chapter talks so much about embracing who you are, all those aspects, even the things that you may have been told by someone weren't right, weren't good, even the places, the things that you think are not your are your greatest wrong. We have a saying, I mentioned that, I can't remember if I mentioned, anyway, I'm an access consciousness facilitator, and they always say in access, what you've decided is your greatest wrongness is actually your greatest strongness. The thing that you've most decided is shameful and wrong about yourself is probably where the seeds of what your greatest superpowers lie. Wow. But the only way that you can access that is to be willing to be that vulnerable with yourself, to go to those places and set your judgments aside and go, okay, this is this thing that I hope no one ever finds out about me. What if I'm willing to just sit with that for a while and look at it from different angles, expand out, look at it as if I was, as if I was not me, but a friend, like play with it, engage with it. What can you receive from it? And you'll start to see what these gifts are that probably, simply because they are our greatest superpowers, also makes them the most threatening. And so they're the things that we've been made the most wrong for. And would we be willing to, you don't have to fight about it, but just be it. Mm. And then you'll change the world. So that's what my chapter is inviting people to, is be you, be the goddess that you be, regardless of what other people think of that, regardless of whether you think it's appropriate. Mm-hmm. Because the world needs that, right?
Yes, yes, the world needs that. And there's so many beautiful women that are sharing these codes. So I'm excited to share this book with the world. I cannot wait for it to be released. And overall, how did you feel about the process of working with Radha Publishing House on the Stories of the Goddess? And what was that like for you?
It's really been great. I mean, I have had a dream of being a published author for my entire life. And this has really been the space where there was enough both nurturing and to, accountability, you know, something that would move that forward from the realm of, oh, I hope that's true someday. I hope I can do that someday, to know this is a thing and it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, it's really been great. Rod is amazing, and her team is amazing. And the opportunities to connect with the other women has also, I was lucky enough to get to read Diana Jahodi's chapter, because she and I were friends before, and it's phenomenal. And I just know there's going to be such wealth in this book, from the women that have been willing to be vulnerable and
Mhm.
expose some of those shadowy places that maybe aren't so easy to show the world,
Yeah.
and invite other people to receive from that. So it's really beautiful.
That's amazing. I'm so proud of you, Michelle. Okay, well, what would you say and advice would you give to someone who is wanting to be published and they're looking to collaborate with a publishing house?
Well, one of the things that I did when I first found out about the project, my heart, my intuition was like, yes, I'm in. And then, my cognitive mind was like, well, maybe you should check this out a little bit.
Right.
So I just, I did a little Googling. I went on Amazon and I put in Radha Publishing, and all these beautiful books popped up. And then I did a little more Googling, and like when I put in keywords about like self-publishing or collaborative publishing, those kind of keywords, not self-publishing, but collaborative publishing, Radha came up over and over again. And, the images. And so what I could see from that is, this wasn't going to be an experience where, yeah, I write my chapter, I put my heart into it, I put it out there, and then it goes, and then nobody ever sees it. The
Right.
Radha is actually willing to put her incredible expertise, the energy of the publishing house, and her personal energy. She's really investing in this because she has her own personal mission around getting stories heard, empowering through story, through writing, lifting women up, lifting the world up through story. And so, she's not just doing the minimum she can get away with for us to say, oh, now I'm a published author. She's like, no,
Right.
no, it doesn't stop there. So that has also been amazing and exciting. And like you, I just can't wait till the book is actually, birthed into the world in a way where other people can receive from it and read it. And I can't wait to read all the other chapters.
Oh gosh, you're getting me excited. I'm like, I want to read the chapters now.
Yeah, yeah. No, I want it now. our inner 2-year-old, right?
Yeah,
Now.
can we just do this now, please, Mom? Yeah, that's so beautiful. Thank you for saying that. And I do see that too with Radha Publishing, and I like the way you worded that, because that's not something that people always see that perspective, and it's really important because when you're putting yourself out there and being vulnerable, you want to know who you're working with. So the consistency is really important. So I like that.
And
Yeah.
can I say one more thing about that too? Is that I'm a businesswoman. I'm an entrepreneur as well. Entrepreneur. That's always such a hard word to say, as well. And so it was important to me that part of this adventure was also about inviting people personally to work with me, or to at least, look at the possibilities that I offer through my business. And so if you're a person who has a strong sense of something they would like to create and contribute to the world, this is such an excellent way to do that. It's
Yeah.
such an accessible way to do it. And, gosh, I've just spent thousands and thousands, probably tens of thousands of dollars on different kinds of business coaching to see how to get my business out in the world, to look at, how, what, to, to be actually published as part of this amazing project. And again, my cognitive, I listened to a lot of reviews that were on the YouTube site for Radha, and like what it had created for people's businesses. And it is phenomenal. It is basically what I've been asking for. is a way to get out to the world and invite them to what I know they can receive from the work I do and the way I work with clients. So
That's so beautiful. I love that, Michelle. Well, with that being said, can you share with us what it is your special offerings are and what it is that and where people can find you? And of course, I'll be sure to link all your information down below. But if you could just touch on that real quick before we head out.
absolutely. Yeah. So my website is calmermom.solutions. It's a little tricky because it's .solutions, not, no .comming in there. So Calmer Mom, all one word, .solutions. My business is the Calmer Mom Project, like I mentioned earlier. I just put out episode 0 of my podcast. There will likely be more by the time people are actually seeing our interview, but and that's the Calmer Mom podcast, and it's out on all the usual platforms. I invite anyone who is interested in to schedule a free chat. That's always where I start with clients or potential clients, people who are interested, is talking with them about what they have going on in their lives, what they would like to change. And then we can really shape how we work together if they choose it, if it feels right, if it's right to them. So that we're so it's offering them something that can really create the change that they're asking for. So it's really that simple. Go to calmermom.solutions, schedule a free chat, and we'll see what happens from there. And I also, I love speaking.
Cool.
You probably can pick up from the video that I love engaging with people. So, just reach out and I would love to, I love being a guest on podcasts and speaking stuff and getting out in the world. So any and all of that, I'll say yes.
Sounds good. Yay! Well, it was such a pleasure to have you, and we'll have to do a podcast together. But until next time, thank you so much for being here, Michelle, and we look forward to releasing the stories of the goddess. We'll link all the information down below.
Thank you, Danielle. It's been delightful to talk with you today. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Bye for now.